Christian Agenda, audiobook, a classic of Spiritist literature, presently in its 33rd Portuguese edition, received by Francisco Cândido Xavier and dictated by the Spirit André Luis, translated by George C. Hart and Evelyn R. Morales. Original Portuguese copyright held by the Federação Espírita Brasileira, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and first published in 1948. The editorial rights to the third edition have been kindly conceded to Allan Kardec Publishing Limited by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation and the Christian Spirit Center, Elon College, United States of America. Third edition has been revised and edited by Janet Duncan. Christian Agenda was received through automatic writing by the Brazilian medium Francisco Cândido Xavier. In order to more fully appreciate the contents of this book, a few words should be said about this remarkable but humble man. Though his education did not go beyond the rural elementary school of his country, he has nevertheless written over 400 books dictated by evolved spirit messengers. All through his 60 years of voluntary service, he had helped thousands of people and given many thousands of medical prescriptions through automatic writing. For this intensive work and the patient ear he lends to people's problems, he did not receive payment of any kind whatsoever. All the copyrights of his books have been donated to help the poor and the Spiritist movement in general, on the grounds that being mediumistically written, they do not belong to him. Assisted by highly evolved spiritual guides, Chico Xavier, as everybody calls him, constantly sought to regulate his life to be in accordance with their lofty standards. To those that knew him, it was at times difficult to determine which is the more excellent, the moral teaching he receives, or the power of his own examples. His attitude towards mediumship and service may be summed up as faithfully reflecting the injunction of Jesus, made to his disciples to freely give what they had freely received. André Luis, the spiritual author of this book, is a pseudonym of a renowned doctor who lived in Rio de Janeiro in the early part of this century. He has written mainly through Xavier and later also through the medium Dr. Valdo Vieira, several other books, amongst which is a well-known series beginning with the book entitled Nosso Lar, Our Home. In this book, André Luis describes his first experience in the spirit world, where he arrived completely unprepared for the new state of existence. He also describes his suffering in the lower regions and subsequent rescue, as well as the gradual adaptation to a life more real and more intense than that on earth. He also tells us about the astral city itself, which is the name of a spiritual colony in the vicinity of the Earth's sphere, where he was transported for treatment and instruction. All of André Luis's other works continue to be highly instructive, dealing with a great variety of subjects, all dictated with the sole purpose of helping terrestrial man to understand the many problems affecting this and the next life, and showing the best path to be followed. André Luis, however, was only one of the many spirit communicators who worked through Xavier, each of whom used their particular literary style. Amongst these messengers are at least 100 poets whose verses, now proclaiming the Spiritist message, often exceed in beauty and wisdom the ones they wrote while still on earth. Of the books received by Francisco Cândido Xavier alone, the number of copies printed has reached several millions, and Christian Agenda is now in its 21st edition in the original Portuguese. Most of Chico's work has been published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, which for nearly a century has guided the movement in that country, wisely steering it along the path of Christian charity, gratuitous service, and brotherly love. This little course in spirituality which André Luis is offering is not a presumptuous collection of rigorous recommendations. It is a friendly message to those who ask for instructions from spiritual entities, as if the true work of salvation were resident outside themselves. This book presents a few words from our sphere of struggle, where we learn that the miracle of perfection is a result of effort, knowledge, discipline, elevation, service, and perfectioning within the temple of our spirit. Therefore, we are not dealing with a pretentious manual. Here you will observe only the collection of the ancient teachings of the Master and a new setting of words being presented for us to remember together with him that the divine kingdom, the edification of God within man, will in truth never come to the world through outward appearances. Emmanuel, Spirit Guide of Francisco Cândido Xavier. 1. Christian imperatives. Learn humbly. Teach practicing. Administer by educating. Obey willingly. Love edifyingly. Fear yourself. Suffer benefiting yourself. Speak constructively. Hear without malice. Help by elevating others. Assist, uplifting others. Pass by, serving. Pray serenely. Act with discernment. Wait, working. Believe actively. Trust watchfully. Receive and distribute. Attend graciously. Cooperate with detachment. Offer urgent assistance through improvement. Examine circumstances with criteria. Clarify respectfully. Sow without anxiety. Study while perfecting. Walk with everyone. Advance, offering help. Act for the general good. Correct with kindness. Forgive continuously. Two. Redeeming principles. Do not forget that God is the central theme of our destinies. Desire the well-being of others as much as you desire it for yourself. Come to terms quickly with your adversaries. Respect your neighbor's opinion. Avoid disagreeable disputes. Lend without expecting restitution. Give your assistance in good works gladly. Do not worry about slanderers. Thank your enemy for the value he ascribes to you. Help children. Do not abandon the old and the sick. Where benefits are concerned, think of yourself last. Apologize sincerely. Criticize no one. Straighten out your own defects before correcting those of others. Use faith and good judgment. Learn to sow that you may reap a good harvest. Do not expect grapes from the thorn bush. Free yourself from the weight of excessive conventionality. Cultivate simplicity. Talk as little as possible about yourself and your problems. Stimulate the noble qualities of your companions. Work for the good of all. Value time. Organize your work knowing that each day has its obligations. Do not be anxious. Serve everyone with detachment. Be happy, just, and grateful. Never impose your point of view. Remember that the world was not made only for you. Social sciences of today present these principles as being new. However, they are ancient, having come to earth with Christ almost 20 centuries ago. However, we who are slow to comprehend are even slower in applying them. Three. Some Christian privileges. Maintaining supreme faithfulness to God. Forgetting personal desires while attending to superior design. Humbling oneself so the hand of the Lord may be exalted. Overcoming oneself. Renouncing joyfully for the benefit of others. Reaching eternal profits from temporary losses. Working to build a divine kingdom. Maintaining hope while others despair. Entering into the temple of silence in the midst of commotion. Maintaining one's faith above the torment of doubts. Silencing oneself in time to avoid hurting others. Speaking constructively. Listening to the divine friend when in solitude. Serving without compensation. enduring one's own cross with valor, learning and profiting from one's suffering, loving without demanding, helping in secret, sowing with Christ detached from the results, finding brothers and sisters in all places, cultivating the pleasure of being useful, discerning the just worth of causes and of things, purifying evil, assisting those who err with sincerity, forgiving as many times as necessary, overcoming obstacles, preserving joyfulness and sweetness, maintaining cheerfulness, detaching oneself from the deceits of the world before the world deceives us, persevering on the side of goodness right to the end. (4) In your own favor. Learn to yield in favor of many, so that some will intercede on your behalf in disagreeable situations. Help without demanding, so that others may help you without complaining. Do not imprison those about you to your way of thinking. Give your companion the opportunity to interpret life as freely as you do. Be careful of the way you express yourself. Gestures often speak louder than words. Refer to yourself as little as possible. Cooperate fraternally in the joys of your fellow beings. Avoid overwhelming verbosity. He who talks without pause tires the listener. Leave the authorship of good ideas to others, and do not worry if you're forgotten. Be convinced that any noble initiative does not really belong to you, since everything good proceeds originally from God. Think of your adversary as a bearer of equilibrium. We have need of friends to stimulate us. We equally need someone to show us our errors. Be calm when arguing. Your opponent's rights are the same as yours. You pay too much attention to criticism from one who is inferior, then you must endure the constraints of the plane to which you have descended without feeling hurt. Be useful everywhere, but do not attempt to please everyone. Do not undertake that which even Christ has still not attained. When faced with error, correct it first in yourself and then in others, without violence and without hate. If treachery crosses your path, deny it the honor of indignation. Examine it with a silent smile. Study the process calmly, and shortly afterwards transform it into something worthy of life. Help the envious in a fraternal manner. Spite is an undisguised homage to merit, and in paying this tribute, the common man torments himself and suffers. (5) Evangelical remedies. Always help. Do not fear. Never despair. Learn incessantly. Think profoundly. Meditate more. Speak little, correct lovingly. Work happily. Direct sensibly. Obey contentedly. Do not complain. Go forward. Observe what is beyond. Look well ahead. Discuss serenely. Shed light. Sow peace. Spread blessings. Struggle and elevate. Be joyful. Live fearlessly. Demonstrate courage. Reveal calmness. Respect everything. Pray confidently. Be watchful with benevolence. Go forth progressing. Serve today, await tomorrow. Habituate yourself to serenity and strength in the circles of human struggle. Without these conquests, it will be difficult for you to free yourself from the succession of inferior reincarnations. (6) In your benefit. Do not fret over the ignorant person. Surely they have not had the opportunities which illuminated your path. Avoid trouble with those who are fanatics. They remained imprisoned in exclusivism and deserve compassion just as any other prisoner. Do not be perturbed by an ill-bred person. In most cases, one who is unsociable has a liver complaint and bad nerves. Help the companion who is insecure. Perhaps they do not have enough to supply their needs, while you retain an excess. Do not be angry with an ungrateful person. Probably they are confused or inexperienced. Help those who make mistakes. Your feet walk on the same ground, and even if you possess the possibility to correct them, you have no right to censure them. Pardon the deserter. He is weak and will return to the lesson later on. Aid the sick. Thank the divine power for the state of equilibrium you are able to conserve. Forget your accuser. He does not know your case from its beginning. Forgive the transgressor. Life will take care of him. (7) A fraternal solicitation. Help with your prayers all those brothers and sisters who never find the time or resources to be useful to anyone, who declare themselves affronted by ingratitude on all sides, whose eyes are cloaked in darkness, and so see evil in all situations, dream of 1,000 castles in the clouds, but do not light one candle on the ground, who will only cooperate in the ivory tower of personal interest, unwilling to descend so as to collaborate with others, who believe themselves to have special missions and thus entitled to exceptional benefits, who use up precious time talking exclusively about themselves, who give up the process of learning from the human struggle, who never cease to find excuses for all their faults, who want to live like orchids in the living room of the world, who judge themselves to be obligatory centers of general attention, and who make a fetish of illnesses and obstacles. These are very sick people in need of silent help. (8) Brothers and sisters in danger. Are those who wish to transform others from one day to the next by the force of mere words. Are those who give intelligent opinions and good advice to everybody while being heedless of their own problems. Are those who place their minds completely in another world without attending to the duties of the world in which they live. Are those who are constantly concerned about defending themselves. Are those who plan 10 marvelous projects each day without materializing even one of them in 10 years. Are those who recognize the grandeur of divine truths but never find time to cultivate them in favor of their own illumination. Are those who continue to postpone till tomorrow the task of understanding and loving others. Are those who regard themselves exclusive proprietors of all the work within the field of charity, without ever distributing opportunities of service to others. Are those who declare forgiveness of the offense, but are never able to forget the injury. Are those who find occasion to become weary of life. (9) In conversation. Do not become irritated with the person to whom you're talking if he does not meet your expectations. Perhaps you are not sufficiently clear in expressing yourself. When addressing someone and you do not receive a prompt answer, don't complain. He is probably a stutterer. If he is not, discourtesy is a sadness in itself. When someone does not give you the solicited information as quickly as you would like, do not become irritated. Remember that deafness can happen to anyone. Avoid matters which are disturbing to the listener. We all have painful periods in our destiny about which we must remain silent. Refrain from asking thoughtless questions. The person who interrogates too much offends greatly. Cultivate courtesy with the workers of any institutions or establishments you may happen to temporarily visit. Almost always your mind is usually unconcerned in such places and ignores the problems of those serving you. Be sincere, but avoid uncharitable frankness. On the pretext of being realistic, do not try to be more honest than God, from whose loving authority only we receive the revelations and work of each day. If someone hurts you with an unkind answer, be calm and wait. Maybe they have already politely answered others 99 times, or perhaps they have just suffered some important loss. Be helpful in your conversations. A good word always uplifts. Remember that evil is never worth commenting on. (10) In grave moments. Be calm. Life as a state of struggle can be good, but the state of war is never a good life. Do not deliberate hurriedly. Circumstances being the offspring of superior design, modify experiences minute by minute. Avoid inopportune tears. They can complicate enigmas instead of solving them. If you have erred disastrously, do not sink into despair. Standing up again is the best measure for one who falls. Be patient. If you cannot dominate yourself, then it is useless for you to seek understanding from someone who does not as yet comprehend you. If the question is excessively complex, wait one more day or even one more week in order to resolve it. Time does not pass in vain. On the pretext of defending someone, do not enter into a noisy circle. There are those who make a great deal of noise as a matter of preference. Be moderate in your resolutions and attitudes. In moments of gravity, your spiritual realities become more visible. Take care in any kind of evaluation alluding to second and third person. On similar occasions, others will be called upon to evaluate you. Never proclaim your individual merits, since any excellent quality is very problematical within the frame of spiritual acquisitions. Remind yourself that virtue is not a voice that speaks, but rather a power that radiates. (11) Preventive medicine. Think well before entering into argument. At times the debater is no more than a hothead. Use courage sensibly. On many occasions the courageous person is simply imprudent. Observe your methods of cultivating the truth. Many people who presume themselves truthful are actually channels of disturbance and discouragement. Proceed with intelligence in all situations. Do not forget, however, that many intelligent men are mere scoundrels. Be strong in your daily struggles. Nevertheless, do not forget that many whom you think to be brave are unconsciously committing suicide. Esteem efficiency, but do not adopt rashness on the pretext of speed. Do not confront dangers without the resources to annul them. What we set apart as bravery is often madness. Always show valor in your attitudes. Remember that valor does not consist in winning at any price, but in conquering your adversary by peaceful means. Have courage, but be moderate in your undertakings. The distance from audacity to crime is but a few steps. Cultivate affability and sweetness along your path. Nevertheless, do not waste time in useless conversation. (12) Always help. When faced by night, do not reproach its darkness. Learn to disperse it with light. To condemn the swamp is useless. Help it to become purified. Along a stony road, do not throw rocks at others. Employ the stones in useful works. Do not condemn the clamor of others. Teach them a profitable lesson by your silence. When faced by difficult situations, do not be swayed by uncertainty. Confront them with a clear conscience. It is useless to blame the thorn bush. Remove it with kindness. Do not criticize the barren ground. Fertilize it instead. Do not reproach the desert. Help to dig a well beneath the burning sand. There is no advantage in disapproving when everyone else disapproves. Instead, uphold your brother or sister with a kind word. It is always easy to observe and identify evil. However, what Christ expects from us is the discovery and cultivation of goodness, so that divine love may be glorified. (13) In reality. A tempest frightens. However, it will strengthen our ability to endure if we know how to receive it. Pain lacerates, but it will perfect our hearts if we seek to profit from its passage. Misunderstanding hurts. Nevertheless, it offers us an excellent opportunity to understand. Struggle disturbs. However, it will be the bearer of invaluable benefits if we accept its contribution. Desperation destroys. In the face of it, we find the opportunity to cultivate serenity. Hate obscures. It can unveil a blessed horizon for a revelation of love. Misfortune overwhelms, yet it prepares us to better console others. Shock terrifies. However, within it we can find the blessings of renewal. Trials torment us. Nevertheless, without them, learning becomes impossible. An obstacle displeases, but it is the true producer of elevation and capability. (14) While. Seek the opportunity of good deeds while you still have time. It is dangerous to keep a head full of dreams with unoccupied hands. Kindle your lamp while there is still light about your steps. No traveler can avoid the surprises of nightfall. Help those about you while you have the opportunity of doing so, because the moment will come when you will not be able to carry on without help from others. Use your physical body to gather blessings for the higher life while it still works together harmoniously. The bowl that held sublime essences will continue to perfume the air after being abandoned. Give your lessons wisely in the school of life, while the book of trials still rests in your hands. Learning is a blessing, and there are thousands of brothers and sisters nearby awaiting a scholarship in reincarnation. Settle your accounts with your neighbor while the time is favorable. Tomorrow, the entire scene could be changed. No one should be a prophet of death. Do not try to imitate the ill-omened owl. Yet while you await the opportunity to store up higher spiritual values, continue to increase your own worth and develop treasures for your soul, in the certainty that your journey to another type of existence is inevitable. (15) In doing so, you will profit. Comfort the despairing. You yourself will not escape the temptations of discouragement within the circles of struggle. Lift the fallen. You do not know where your own feet will stumble. Extend your hand to those in need of support. Your day for receiving cooperation will arrive. Help the sick. Your own soul is not using an invulnerable body. Make an effort to understand the less enlightened companion. Know that you do not always have the necessary means for understanding as could be desired. Be sympathetic towards the unfortunate. The sky will not always be sunny for you. Be tolerant and patiently help the ignorant. Remember that there are sublime spirits that tolerate us and help us with heroic kindness. Console the downhearted. You cannot foresee the surprises of your own destiny. Help the offender with your good thoughts. He teaches us how hostile and disagreeable we are when we hurt someone else. Be kind to those dependent upon you. Do not forget that Christ himself was compelled to obey. (16) Some definitions. A benefactor is one who helps and goes on his way. A friend is one who aids in silence. A companion is one who cooperates without making us feel uneasy. A reformer is one who restores himself to the ways of goodness. A strong person is one who knows how to wait within the task of peaceful work. An enlightened person is one who knows himself. A brave person is one who fears nothing in himself. A defender is one who cooperates without causing confusion. An efficient person is one who acts for the benefit of all. A winner is one who conquers himself. (17) In truth. The saint does not condemn the sinner. He helps him without being presumptuous. The wise person does not ridicule one who is ignorant. He instructs him in a brotherly manner. The enlightened person does not insult those walking in darkness. He illuminates their pathway. The instructor does not blame the stumbling apprentice. It is the insecure sheep which most needs a shepherd. The good person does not persecute one who is bad. They assist them to better themselves. The strong person does not malign the weak. They help them to raise themselves up. The humble person does not avoid one who is proud. They cooperate silently in their favor. The sincere person does not disturb others. They bring harmony to all. The unpretentious do not criticize the vain. Whenever necessary, they help them without ostentation. The Christian does not hurt or hate. He follows Christ, serving the world. Otherwise, titles of virtue would only be external coverings which time would destroy. (18) Useful reminders. Do not continually ask for spiritual guidance. If you already have a penny's worth of Christian concepts, then you understand enough to know what to do. Do not waste your energy trying to straighten out others by imposition. When we straighten ourselves out, we will realize that the world is administered by divine wisdom, and that the obligation to cooperate continuously towards goodness is our fundamental duty. Do not blame the discarnate spirits for your failures in life's struggles. Note the rhythm of your own life. Examine your income and expenditures, your actions and reactions, your manners and attitude, your obligations and decision, and you will then recognize that you have the situation you saw and that you reap exactly what you have sown. Do not appeal systematically to your spiritual friends with regard to petty, everyday tasks. They are equally busy and confront problems greater than yours, and their responsibilities are more grave and immediate. Within the common struggles on earth, you would not have the courage to ask a generous and kind professor to perform the functions of a babysitter. Do not wait for death to solve the problems of life, nor claim sickness or old age as an excuse to stop learning, because we are still very far from heaven. Grave does not bring a miraculous transformation, but opens a wider door to our own conscience. (19) A matter of choice. Look for a delinquent, and you will find many offenders. It is necessary then for you to possess an immense reserve of love in order to reform them without becoming a criminal yourself. Seek to identify a fault, and you will find innumerable ones. Faced with that situation, it is essential that you be sufficiently enlightened so as not to add your errors to the errors of others. Try to locate one thorn and you will encounter various thorn bushes. In such a case, it is necessary that you remain very well balanced in order not to hurt yourself. Place too much attention upon a stone in the road, and shortly the ground will become very stony to your eyes. After that, you will need a great deal of resistance not to succumb to the roughness of the journey. Approach goodness, look for it with determination, and kindness will illuminate your path. Only then will you be perfectly equipped to win the war against evil. (20) Natural conclusions. Patient person never despairs. The anxious sooner or later complain. The brave endure difficulties, overcoming them. The reckless confront dangers without consideration. The enlightened person stands out. The theorist talks excessively. The friend studies ways to help. The adversary watches for means to hurt. The common man helps according to his inclinations. The Christian will always help. (21) Sowing. Your generosity will call the goodness of others to your aid. Your simplicity will solve problems for many people. Your complexity will give rise to much insincerity in others. Your indifference will produce visible coldness in others. Your sincere desire for peace will guarantee tranquility along your path. Your belligerency will bring forth fruits of anxiety. Your blunt frankness will provoke rough responses. Your refinement will inspire correct manners in those who follow you. Your superior spirituality will motivate sublime spiritual achievements. We sow and reap daily. Life is also a soil which receives and produces eternally. (22) Even further. To have a mouth that is perfumed is not enough. It is imperative that it be incapable of hurting others. The cleanliness of your hands is important. However, it is essential to verify what they do. Good ears are certainly a treasure. However, divine justice will want to know what you are listening to. Excellent vision is a laudable quality. Nevertheless, it is of interest to note how you look at life. To have physical health is to possess a valuable gift, but it is necessary to consider what you do with your healthy body. Clear reasoning is a virtue. Still, it is essential to observe in what mental zone you are reasoning. A beautiful imagination is like having a marvelous castle. However, it is well to take note with what images you furnish your inner palace. Strong emotions characterize internal richness. Nevertheless, it is necessary to verify how you spend your emotions. The ability to be intensely productive is a precious resource, but it is essential that you know the substance of that which you produce. The capacity to proceed joyfully through life is a blessing. Nevertheless, remember to watch the direction your feet are taking along the way. 23. Realities. The clown that you mock is frequently a brave soldier of good cheer. The extremely adorned woman of whom you usually disapprove is on many occasions dressing like that in order to help a great number of working hands. The singer who performs smiling, from whom you often turn away in boredom, in the belief that you are preserving your own virtue, is usually trying to earn bread for many needy relatives and thus deserves consideration and respect. A well-to-do person who appears to you to be lazy and unproductive is perhaps involved in projects that you would never find the animation to tackle. Do not judge others by their appearance. Truth, like the kingdom of God, is never displayed in outward appearances. (24) Appearances. Do not accuse the person who appears to be wealthier. Perhaps they are merely a slave to obligations. Do not condemn the companion who was raised to a position of authority. He is probably a mere debtor to the multitude. Do not envy one who administers while you obey. Frequently they are suffering from a painful process. Do not disdain the colleague who is conducted to greater prominence. The responsibility it weighs on his shoulders can be an incessant torment. Do not censure the woman who dresses luxuriously, for her luxury is probably a bitter trial. Do not criticize the polite in manner who seem insincere at first sight. Possibly they are avoiding enormous crimes or great discouragements. Do not fret over the ill-humored friend. You do not know all of his inner difficulties. Do not become displeased with the person whose conversation is futile. You were also like that when you lacked experience. Do not mutter against the inconsiderate young. Help them whenever you can, remembering that you were once considered to be irresponsible by many people. Do not be intolerant in any situation. The clock ticks incessantly, and you will likewise face numerous difficult problems along your own path, as well as on the paths of those you love. (25) Ascend higher. Do not be hurt by slander. Live in such a way that no one will believe the slanderer. Do not be set back by perturbations. Follow your path attending to superior purposes of life, because the makers of confusion will be many. Do not be concerned with unwarranted accusations. You can realize many valuable plans to counteract the unjust accusers. Do not be troubled by untoward mistrust. You can employ your clear conscience in honest service anywhere. Do not be discouraged by criticism. Censure is something within everyone's reach, but elevated achievements are the work of only a few. Do not become disheartened by unfavorable opinions. If you remain devoted to goodness, the approval of your own conscience will prevail over any other opinion, no matter how respectable. (26) If you so desire. If you so desire to become in fact a Christian, then by losing you will win in the human battle. By yielding you will obtain the resources you need. By working you will attain your own happiness. By forgiving you will edify those around you. By liberating you will conquer others. By enduring you will withstand the storm. By renouncing you will gain immortal treasures. By blessing, you will save many. By suffering, you will receive more light. By sacrificing yourself, you will find peace. By hard work, you will purify yourself. By loving, you will always illuminate. 27. Difficult experiences. Physical beauty can bring about unforeseeable tragedies for the soul that lacks discernment. Excessive money is a door to pauperism if he who possesses it cannot maintain his own balance. Too much comfort is a disadvantage if one does not learn the art of detaching oneself from it. Prominence can be the introduction to a spectacular fall if one does not mature one's reasoning. Too great an authority spoils the joy of living if the mind does not cultivate a sense of proportion. Too heavy a responsibility can exterminate the existence of he who has as yet not risen above ordinary understanding. An enormous amount of knowledge in the midst of many ignorant, vulgar, or foolish people is a poisonous and bitter fruit if the spirit has not yet become resigned to solitude. (28) Effectively. To be vigilant does not mean distrust. It means enlightening yourself by means of helping those who find themselves in the shadows. To defend is not a matter of shouting. It is to render more intensive service to causes and to people. To help is not to impose. It is to give substantial support without craving for personal recognition, so that this beneficiary may grow, become enlightened, and find happiness of his own accord. To teach is not to hurt others. It is to lovingly guide them towards a kingdom of understanding and peace. To renovate is not to destroy. It is to respect the foundations and so restore works for the general good. To enlighten is not to argue. It is to assist through a spirit of service and goodwill the understanding of those who lack knowledge. To love is not to desire. It is to always be understanding. Give of oneself, renounce one's own whims, and sacrifice ourselves so that the divine light of true love may shine forth. (29) It is reasonable to think on this. Patience is not a colourful stained glass window for you to enjoy in your leisure hours. It is added help when facing obstacles. Serenity is not a garden to be cultivated only for cheerful days. It is the provision of peace for the deceptions along your pathway. Calmness is not merely a harmonious violin to accompany pleasant conversations. It is a substantial asset against possible misunderstandings. Tolerance is not a delicious wine to be enjoyed in moments of fellowship. It is a valuable door through which you may demonstrate goodwill towards less advanced companions. Real cooperation is not just the easy process of receiving assistance from others. It is a means of helping a friend in need. Confidence is not a nectar to sweeten your moonlit nights. It is a secure refuge for tempestuous hours. Optimism does not constitute ease for your twilight hours. It is a source of power for difficult days. Fortitude is not a rhetorical ornament. It is a reinforcement to faith. Hope is not the act of kneeling for simple contemplation. It is energy for the lofty realizations that belong to your spirit. Virtue is not a decorative flower. It is the blessed fruit of your own effort, which you should use and glorify at the appropriate moment. (30) Replies to those in haste. Avoid impatience. You have already lived countless centuries and are now standing before endless millenniums. Keep calm, but flee from idleness as one who recognizes the decisive value of each minute. Spread love. Think of the devotion of He who has loved us from the beginning. Keep your balance. Unbridled passions and desires are forces of destruction within the divine creation. Cultivate confidence. tomorrow the sun will reappear in the horizon and the landscape will be different. Intensify your own efforts. Your life will be what you make of it. Cherish solidarity. You would not be able to live without others, although in the majority of cases, others can live without you. Experience solitude from time to time. Jesus was alone in the crucial moments of his passage on the earth. Give constructive action to your hours. However, do not convert your existence into a Tower of Babel. Render your faithful devotion to peace, but remember that you will never experience tranquility without first giving peace to those who cross your path. (31) Reveal yourself. In your daily struggles, do not demand politeness from your companion. Demonstrate yours. Referring to good deeds, do not await collaboration. Before all else, be the first to collaborate. In trivial tasks, do not demand the effort of others. Show your own goodwill. In jobs that require understanding, do not ask your neighbor to rise to your level. Learn to descend to his and help him. When performing Christian duties, do not wait for outside resources to fulfill them. The best thing that you can give to good works is your own heart. In the ordinary dealings of life, do not wait for others to reveal their excellent qualities. Express the elevated gifts that you already possess. In every earthly creature there exists light and shadow. Allow your own nobility to become conspicuous in order that the nobility of others may come to join you. (32) Signs. Your conversation indicates the directions you have chosen in life. Your decisions taken in grave moments identify the true position of your spirit. Your attitudes within the daily struggles speak of your inner climate. Your impulses define the mental zone in which you prefer to operate. Your thoughts reveal the kind of spiritual companions you keep. Your reading habits define your sentiments. Your personal treatment of others demonstrates the point to which you have progressed. Your requests shed light upon your objectives. Your opinions reveal the true place which you occupy in the world. Your days are marks along the pathway of evolution. Do not forget the great assemblies of companions, both incarnate and discarnate. Know your personality and follow you along your pathway by the signs you leave behind. (33) Without these resources. Without good manners, you are deprived of the confidence of others. Without fortitude, you will succumb to the first obstacles on your path. Without positive faith, you will wander aimlessly. Without devoting yourself to goodness, you will experience a terrible inner hardening. Without giving noble examples, you will pass uselessly through the world. Without dignified work, tedium will corrode your energies. Without personal effort, you will never reach the doors to higher planes. Without hope, your earthly nights will be even darker. Without comprehension, your journey through the shadows will be painful. Without a spirit of renunciation, you will not be able to educate anyone. (34) Be prepared. Balance your sense of justice, subtracting from it any inclination towards vengeance. Be on guard against your fearlessness, lest it becomes an act of recklessness. Analyze your firmness so that it will not be transformed into petrification. Illuminate your directives so they will not be converted into tyranny. Examine your cleverness so avoiding your interment within villainy. Take care that suffering does not become revolt. Control your resentments to avoid installing them in the sinister house of hatred. Keep watch over your frankness so that your words will not distill poison. Watch over your enthusiasm so it will not constitute thoughtlessness. Cultivate your noble zeal, but do not turn it into a dark primer of violence. (35) Learn with nature. The sun shines from on high in order to help everyone. The stars group themselves in order. The sky has its timetable of hours of light and of darkness. Although it continues to be linked to the soil, the vegetable abandons the dark hole in search of light so it may produce. The bough that survived the storm yields to its passage. Nevertheless, it continues to keep its appropriate place. The rock guarantees the life of the valley by resigning itself to solitude. The river reaches objectives because it has learned to flow around obstacles. The bridge serves the public without making exceptions by asserting itself against extremism. The vase is useful to the potter after enduring the heat of the kiln. The gem shines after submitting to the files of the stone cutter. The canal is able to fulfill its finalities because it does not lose access to the reservoir. The harvest always yields in accordance with the purposes of the sower. (36) Logically. The person who feeds in hatred pours fire into their own heart. The person who upholds vice becomes its prisoner. The person who cultivates idleness surrounds himself with a wall of ice. The person who becomes angry is the inquisitor of his own soul. The person who delights in criticism casts stones upon himself. The person who provokes difficult situations increases the number of obstacles they face. The person who judges hastily is always analyzed with haste. The person who specializes in identifying evil will find it difficult to see goodness. The person who does not desire to endure is incapable of serving. The person who lives collecting lamentations will walk under a shower of tears. (37) Liberate your soul. Do not become attached to the beauty of ephemeral forms. The flower lasts but briefly. Do not heap up precious things that weigh in the scale of the world. Do not become a slave to opinions of the frivolous and ignorant. Incitatus, Caligula's horse, ate from a bucket adorned with pearls, but it did not stop him from being a horse. Do not nourish the greed for possessions. The coin collector's house is full of coins which serve millions, but whose owners have disappeared. Do not give up your constructive freedom because of human opinions. The trap that punishes the ferocious animal is the same that surprises the negligent canary. Do not believe in the flattery which lends you imaginary qualities. Cruel wasps frequently hide themselves in the calyx of the lily. Do not become afflicted over acquiring immediate benefits during the earth experience. Museums remain crammed full of the cloaks of kings and of other cadavers of dead advantages. (38) Do not ruin your day. Your irritation will not solve any problems. Your contrarieties will not alter the nature of things. Your disappointments will not do the work that only time will achieve. Your bad humor will not modify life. Your pain will not stop the sun from shining tomorrow over the good and the bad. Your sadness will not illuminate pathways. Your discouragement will not edify anyone. Your tears will not replace the sweat and effort which you ought to employ for the benefit of your own happiness. Your complaints, even if affectionately construed, will never increase others' sympathy for you by 1 ounce. Do not ruin your day. Learn from divine wisdom to forgive endlessly, so constructing and reconstructing for the infinite good. (39) With Jesus. Renunciation will be a privilege for you. Suffering will glorify your life. Tests will expand your powers. Work will be a mark of confidence along your pathway. Sacrifice will sublimate your impulses. Body illness will be a beneficial remedy for your soul. Slander will honor your task. Persecution will be a motive for you to bless many. Anguish will purify your hopes. Evil will summon your spirit to the practice of goodness. Hate will challenge your heart to manifestations of love. The earth, with all its contrasts and unceasing renewals, represents a blessed school of individual perfection, in whose purifying lessons you will leave selfishness crushed forever. (40) You can be sure. You can talk about kindness at every moment, but if you are not kind, it will be useless for your own happiness. Your hand can write beautiful pages under spiritual inspirations. However, if you do not stamp the beauty of those pages onto your spirit, you will be no more than a courier without intelligence. You can read marvelous books with emotions and tears. Still, if you do not apply what you have read, you will only be a bad recorder. You can cultivate sincere convictions in matters of faith. Nevertheless, if these convictions do not serve to renew you for the good, your mind will be reduced to a mere hook whereupon to hang religious maxims. Your capacity to offer guidance can discipline many people, so improving their personalities. Still, if you do not discipline yourself, the law will face you with the same severity with which it utilized you so as to perfect others. You may know the lessons of the pathway perfectly, and may in the mortal eyes of the world pass to the gallery of heroes and saints. But if you do not practice the good teachings you know, the divine laws will determine that you always have to begin your work over again, each time with greater difficulty. You may call Jesus Master and Lord. However, if you do not want to learn to serve with him, your words will sound hollow and without meaning. (41) Defend yourself. Do not turn your ears into a storehouse of rumors. Intrigue is a viper that will lodge in your soul. Do not transform your eyes into lens of vilification. The images that you corrupt will remain corrupted on the screen of your mind. Do not turn your hands into spears in order to fight without profit. Use them in the field of goodness. Do not underrate your creative faculties by focusing them on easy pleasures. You will answer for what you did with them. Do not condemn your imagination to permanent excitement. your inferior creations will torment your inner world. Do not lead your feelings towards a lust for suffering. Teach them to delight in the enjoyment of service to mankind. Do not search for the pathway to paradise, while directing others towards the road to hell. The way to heaven will be built inside you yourself. 42. You yourself. Remind yourself that you are the best secretary for your tasks, the most efficient publicity agent for your ideas, the clearest demonstrator of your principles, the highest standard of the lofty teaching your spirit embraces, and the living message of the noble ideas you transmit to others. Equally, do not forget that the greatest enemy of your most noble realizations, the complete or incomplete negation of the sublime idealism that you proclaim, the discordant note of the symphony of goodness that you intend to execute, the architect of your afflictions, and the destroyer of your opportunities for elevation is you yourself. (43) Personal problems. Living faith is not a transferable property, it is a personal conquest. Legitimate happiness is not merchandise that can be borrowed, it is an inner realization. Grace does not descend from heaven at random, it has to be earned. The best charity is not that which is done by substitutes, we must perform it ourselves. Moral strength is not the result of others pleading for us. It comes from our own effort. Take a stand on the side of goodness. Steadfast hope does not dwell firmly in our hearts by mere contagion. It is the offspring of higher understanding. Real love is not born from the shadows of desire. It is a crystalline and inexhaustible fountain of the eternal spirit. True knowledge is not the achievement of but a few days. It is the work of time. Paradise will never be acquired by astute bargaining. It is attainable through our goodwill in avoiding the purgatory or hell of our own conscience. The protection reached from the higher planes is an unquestionable fact for all of us who still move within the shadows. Woe to us, however, if we do not seek the blessings of enlightenment. (44) Rise above. When looking at a block of crude stone, do not dwell in its possible weight. Remember the perfect statue that will emerge from it. When contemplating the difficulties of sowing, do not let the fears of a torrential storm or blight detain you. Think of the grain that will overflow in the granary. When facing a storm, do not lose yourself in lamentations. Meditate upon the benefits that its passage will bring. When faced with hard work, do not be afraid of the copious sweat it will produce. Centralize your expectations on the good that will result from it. Do not be preoccupied with the heat of the forge. Look towards the useful articles with which it will furnish your life. Do not picture only the danger of illness. Reflect upon the joy and possibility of being able to cure. If you are governed effectively by a higher ideal, forget the friend who deserted, the wife who fled, the ungrateful companion, or the difficult relative. All of them are learning and passing by just as you are. What matters is the intensification of the light, the progress of truth, and the victory of goodness. (45) Always called. Christians are called to serve everywhere. In a house of suffering, they will administer consolation. In In a den of ignorance they will offer enlightenment. In a castle of pleasure they will teach moderation. On the brink of criminality they will impede the fall. In dark hideaways they will kindle light. In the fog of despondency they will open the doors of encouragement. In the inferno of hatred they will multiply the blessings of love. In the marketplace of malice they will distribute goodness. In the course of justice they will put themselves in the place of the accused, so they may examine the errors of others. At every turn of the path we encounter suggestions from the Lord, challenging us to serve. "46. Seize the opportunity. It is not the docile companion who most needs your immediate fraternal understanding, but he who still struggles to subdue the ferocity of the wrath that lies deep inside. It is not the person who is full of evangelical understanding that requires your most urgent attention, but he who still has not succeeded in eliminating the viper of malice from within his heart. It is not the friend marching peacefully along the path of goodness who will insistently solicit your care, but he who loses himself in the thicket of discord and misunderstanding, and who is without strength to return to the right path. It is not the person who goes about his normal work that requires urgent help, but he who did not have sufficient resources to conquer the constraining circumstances of human experience, and so fell into the dark zones of derangement. It is very probable that for the time being your cooperation in paradise is completely dispensable. However, the unquestionable reality for the moment is that your place of service, learning, helping and loving is right here on earth. "47. Entreaties. In prayer, you ask for a ray of light, but almost always you forget that you have at your disposal the solar focus point to help you fulfill the sublime objectives. Your spirit pleads for a glimmer of love, while all around you humanity awaits the manifestation of your capacity to love. You beg for the concession of favors that enable you to collaborate with divine wisdom, forgetting that millions of beings are waiting for your willingness to serve in the name of the Heavenly Father. Your heart demands heavenly signs, and while the wisest of the wise colors the flowers and horizons for your eyes to see, you search for vain diversions and notice nothing. You demand justice for your personal affairs and daily complicate situations and problems, without ever noticing that the supreme harmony always rectifies everything around you through the intermediary of pain and death. You desire opportunities for growth and ascension to higher spirituality, but frequently run away from the various degrees of laborious and humble work offered to you daily, conceded by He who is indefinitely good in the name of mercy. If you're always entreating external happiness, yet refusing the resources enabling you to acquire it, what more can you expect? "48. Consulting goodness. The slanderer wants you to see the same ugliness he sees in the lives of others. The weak and hesitant person expects your strength to be brittle. The contentious person will await your presence to take part in disputes against everyone and everything. The ungrateful person will not be happy at seeing your being grateful towards others. The egotistical person will not rejoice at seeing your respect for their adversaries. The person revolting will attempt to fix a mask of rebellion to your face. The confused person will try to plunge your mind into the depths of turmoil. The neurasthenic will ask you not to smile. The foolish will demand your adherence to madness. The person who is as yet imperfectly spiritualized always seeks to liken his fellow creatures to himself. Nevertheless, remember that you are yourself with the original task and different responsibilities. And if you aim at real happiness, you should never forget to consult the patterns for goodness, together with Christ, at every moment of your life. (49) Help yourself. Covet nothing belonging to your neighbor, unless it be the excellent qualities that adorn his spirit. Do not let annoyances govern the helm of your destiny. Do not deliver the temple of your memory to bad impressions. Do not detract the spiritual aspects from your experiences. Do not forget that the higher ideal, which is the object of your admiration, should become manifest on your pathway. Do not be enslaved by evil. Meanwhile, do not shun the obligations of brotherhood towards those who have been attacked by evil. Do not put out the torch of faith during days of brightness, so as not to be deprived of light during the dark ones. Do not run away from the lessons to be learned along your evolutionary path, however difficult or painful they may be, so that later on life may open up its sanctuary of wisdom to you. Do not neglect to find the time to cultivate what is beautiful, eternal, and good. Do not forget that justice establishes universal order, but that it is only love which expands the work of God. (50) Conclusions. That physical life is a blessed school is unmistakable. However, if you do not take advantage of it so as to sufficiently learn the lessons intended for your spiritual growth, then your entrance into human apprenticeship will be worth nothing. That the path of goodness is laborious and difficult is undeniable. However, if you are not disposed to follow it, then no one will free you from the dangerous influence of evil. That eternal happiness is a supreme achievement, way beyond the transient state of the flesh, is indisputable. Nevertheless, if you desire to continue in the field of easy and inferior pleasures at the lowest levels, then you will wander in them indefinitely. That God is with us in all circumstances is unquestionable truth. Still, if you are not with God, no one can foresee to what depths your spirit will descend in the domains of intranquility and darkness. This has been Christian Agenda audiobook, narrated by Christopher Kinghorn and produced by Mark Zero. This has been a two-hands production for BUS, the British Union of Spiritist Societies, 2014.